What's up, everybody? I'm Ryan Wilson. This is Kim Crawley. We are from StopGenAI.com, and today we're doing a little extra special ditty on, well, not that guy, sorry. But anyway, we're on Red Star OS, which is an operating system from North Korea, the DPRK, which, if anybody knows anything about me, they know that I have a personal affinity for. And so I'm really excited to dive into this with Kim today, and she's going to take us on a journey. And
so this might be one of the most interesting Linux distros in existence, because they have some of the best computer scientists in the world in the DPRK.
Yep.
And they spend a lot of time working with the Linux kernel to build an operating system that suits their needs, mainly as a country that has been forcibly isolated to most of the world because of the American power over the world.
Yes.
So with the Linux kernel, because it's all open source, they can audit every line of code and make sure that they know what everything is doing. And this can be a very good operating system to use for a lot of things in this part of the world. It is a very lightweight Linux distribution, so it doesn't require heavy duty hardware or anything like that.
Right.
But the only real major Achilles heel is it is designed to only use if you're going to use computer networking at all, to only use the North Korean intranet. So if you're within the DPRK, you can connect to that intranet and you can have a lot of stuff that you can see and do and look at on the computer network. But if you open it and you're not within the DPRK, you're not going to have any network connection at all. But you can do other things. You can play old PC games. You can do your word processing. You can do all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can also, I've seen other people on YouTube play around with Red Star, and people who understand English and not Korean, and they've all managed to change the language in the operating system to English for the most part, but some applications still open in Korean to help me with the installation process, because I've been spending the past few years studying Japanese, not Korean.
Right.
There is no relationship between Korean or Japanese whatsoever. Korean is written a completely unrelated character set called Hangul, but I have a guide to Hangul and a Korean English dictionary on my computer right now. So if there's anything on the screen that during the installation process, if I can't understand it, I can look it up.
Okay.
This is based on Red Hat and Fedora, but definitely IBM doing anything effed up with it, they would have programmed it out of there. So,
right. Well, and let's be clear too, because when we did our last show, we talked about operating systems to use in Linux and not to use, and very much Red Hat and Fedora were ones that we shied away from because they are, like you said, IBM run, right?
Yeah, but just like forks of Firefox might be good.
Yeah.
If the devs are able to take the bad stuff out of it, yeah. Forks of Fedora, if they take the bad stuff out of it, can be good. So I'm going to hit finish. I allocated how much? Oh, wait. Okay, go back here. Okay, good. Okay, so there's my I was wondering where my other operating systems went. Okay.
So you got it downloaded?
Yeah, I'm going to remove the old Red Star. Okay, so I'm going to explain virtual machines because we might have some non-computer geeks watching this.
Sure. Well, yeah, you've got one co-hosting, so let's go.
So what a virtual machine is it's best described as your computer's pet computer.
Okay.
So it's running an operating system as if it was another application on your computer. And so it virtualizes the hardware. And it's a good thing that I have a laptop with good hardware specs.
Right.
because I can give a lot of the hardware to a pretend computer that it's running. So this is kind of a pretend computer. And then in the enterprise network, in the enterprise market, they actually mainly do things with virtual machines. So this has all been set up as, basically. So I don't know if you can see that. Oh, I guess you can't. Let me try the share screen thing again. We're going to try making sure it's the other window and not the other window. Come on. Yes, this window, I think. No. Yeah, that's the window. Okay, so we'll hope. Can you see that? No. Try this. Oh yeah, I think it's loading. Oh, very nice.
There we go.
This is great. Okay, so I'm going to pull out my Hangul Korean English dictionary, which is on. I'm going to have that on my other monitor here. Hold on a second.
But this is the load frame, or the load frame or whatever for the OS, right?
Yeah, this is the installation screen, basically.
Okay, so all this stuff we're seeing around it is all part of the OS, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all part of the OS. You're seeing what exactly it's outputting. And if this wasn't a virtual machine, that you would still see the exact same thing on your screen. Cool. What you can't see right now is I'm looking at a Korean English dictionary.
Sure.
So let me see if I can look at the right monitor again. I am so glad that I was talking to Ryan earlier about how in 2023, back when RAM prices were reasonable, I maxed the memory out on my laptop to 64 gigabytes. And now the roughly $150, $200 I spent maxing out the memory would be about $800 now.
Well, and that's like right now, right?
Yes.
With the way that the world is fluctuating and the way that, the dying empire is flailing. Who knows where those prices could be in 2 weeks to a month, right? Like, which I think is part of the reason why we're trying to help people get a handle on these things now, right? Before, because getting out of big tech is a thing that we can all do and should do to help avoid the worst parts of whatever is coming next.
Oh, great. So this means no, and that means yes. I'm going to assume that yes is probably what I should be selecting here. The nice thing about a virtual machine is that if you mess up, you have not messed up your computer. All you got to do is go back to the application, remove virtual machine, and start all over again.
Okay.
So I gave this thing about 20 gigabytes worth of disk storage. And now I know what no looks like. So I'm going to remember to click yes. Okay. So now I'm going to try. And this Korean English dictionary I'm looking at has a Korean Hangul like keyboard built into it.
Okay.
So, and the nice thing about Hangul is it's all phonetic.
Very cool.
Yeah, so it's just as phonetic as our Roman. It's probably more phonetic than our Roman characters in English are, because there's no like consistent spelling rules in English. And when I started learning other languages, and I learned that other languages written in Roman characters had way more consistent spelling rules than English does, my mind was blown. Because with English as your first language, and you grow up as someone who can just intuitively navigate how messed up our spelling rules are, because you know what words are supposed to look like. You don't even think of how weird our spelling is.
Yeah, right, for sure. It's pretty and it's pretty interesting, like you said, once you start to see how it's done in other cultures and other languages, and you're just like, oh wow, we really are kind of a train wreck in like everything, but very much in spelling, right?
Oh, cool. So it's got like a red dot right where the DPRK would be. I'll just leave all the defaults. What was search? Okay, so yeah, but even other languages that use Roman characters by default have much more consistent spelling rules than English.
Right.
Like if I was teaching a kid how to read, I would tell them to not obsess about the phonics too much, to think about how words are supposed to look.
Very good rule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like words like psychology and nay and like two and two and all that can really throw someone off if they're expecting consistent spelling rules.
Which is really hard for those of us on the neurodivergent spectrum, right?
Yeah, except my neurodivergence makes me better at that kind of stuff. It's weird. What was no again? The nice thing is if I mess up,
you can just kick it out, right?
Yeah, okay, that's good. So that's yes. Okay. I got to remember, this is yes, this is no. Okay. All right.
Okay, very cool.
It'd be nice to see what kind of applications they are preloaded in here too. But yeah, I was reading an article the other day about the phone-based online shopping network that they have now. Like they've got their own kind of like general merchandiser, like Amazon equivalent, but not obviously Amazon equivalent in the sense of it's a general merchandise store that will ship general merchandise to you. I mean,
yeah, no. Yeah, that's what I assumed. But yeah, it will be interesting, in the coming years, as we talk about quite often with the rise of China and the downfall of the US, that, once places like North Korea can open back up and start their own reform and opening up process, if they choose to do that, which, once they start to have socialist relations with other socialist nations, and that can be the bigger part of their relations. They don't have to worry about sanctions from, the hegemon. Then, it's going to be really interesting to see what it looks like. So I'm really excited for this. I'm excited for them. I'm excited for, pretty much everybody but the people on the occupied territories of Turtle Island.
There is a large Korean community here in Toronto. There's a certain section, it's just like west of the part of Toronto, it's called the Annex.
Yeah.
It's called Koreatown, and they have all these really great Korean supermarkets and restaurants and whatnot. And they also have Korean Christian churches. And about 15 years ago, I went to a showing for a documentary about how much it hurts Korea to have like North and South forcefully divided like that, and families between the demilitarized zone who miss each other so much and whatnot. And it was very sad. And I went there and I was probably the only non-Korean person there. And I was just very quiet, and I didn't say anything, and I just like watched the movie respectfully and whatnot. And there were English subtitles, so I could easily follow what was going on. And there were definitely people in the audience who were personally impacted by that, who had loved ones on like either side of the demilitarized zone who they miss each other.
Well, that's one of the things that we here in the West don't get a lot of, right? Is that the personal stories of how imperialism has really impacted the globe and how it has impacted these nations, you know, in a lot of ways, personal and other. And so, you know, getting a chance to see something like that is really powerful. So I'm happy for you. That's great. Like,
also, like, if you're watching this and you're white, make yourself, you know, put yourself in situations sometimes where you're the only white person. Like, people who are racially marginalized, they're used to that. They're used to going to places and being an ethnic minority.
Right.
White people don't tend to do that. If you live in an area with some multiculturalism, and especially if you're white, like, go to places where you're the only white person. Like, it would be really good for you.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. No, very much so. Oh, here we go.
There we go. Okay, so
saucy.
When I change the default language back to English, I'll be able to understand a little bit more.
Yeah.
I spent the past 3 or 4 years studying how to read Japanese for like an hour or two a day. And that does not help you one iota with how to read Hangul, because there's no connection whatsoever. So, yeah. Okay, this is great. And even though it's based on Fedora, the UI is made to look kind of like Mac OS. And I'm gonna, okay, let me see if I blow that up. There we go. That's much better. Yeah. Let me know if there's anything that stands out to you that you're curious about.
Well, let's go see what that ball is all about.
Yeah. So the ball. Okay.
There we go.
I should kind of, there we go. I've got kind of an awkward monitor set up where my laptop, yeah, we'll assume yes. Okay, the reason why this isn't loading anything is because we're not connected to the North Korean intranet.
Okay, so that's what that's like their, what, Safari?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And I have poor control over my mouse, which is very annoying. This is not the fault of the operating system. This is the virtual machine application that seems to. Yesterday, I spent all day basically with Kali Linux, which is like the pen testing Linux distro.
Okay.
And my mouse was moving smoothly in that. So why my mouse isn't moving smoothly. Yeah, exit out there. So that is the web browser.
All right.
That's like a contact book, I believe.
Okay.
Or like, no, it's the file system. Okay. It's the file system. There should be somewhere in here where you can. Maybe it's here. Try this.
But so, I mean, it has all the basic applications that you would find in any, OS, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, it looks like they have the time or the, what's that? That one. There you go.
There we go. Let's look at the settings here. This is all very familiar to you because you use Mac OS most of the time.
But so this would be just where all the files are, where all the, all of your add-ons and stuff, right?
Yeah. Okay, no, I don't want to play around with the network settings. Let's try this again. Definitely changing it to English would be in the settings. You know, I'm going to go back to my Korean English dictionary and see what the word languages looks like in Korean.
Okay. So we can get that mouse going.
Yeah, I got to get the mouse back on my other monitor here. Okay, my mouse is working well here. Okay, I'm gonna try using my phone looking it up. The Korean English dictionary works just as well on my phone as it does on my laptop. So
very good.
Okay. So we'll see what the word language looks like.
Yeah, because most of our barriers to this stuff would be just that, right? Is our language barrier.
Yeah. Okay.
Technically, go ahead.
Try this. Okay, that's not it. By the way, that's Kim as in Kim Crawley, not Kim as in like the Kim family.
Right.
Okay.
Be pretty cool though.
It's probably like this is your default PDF application. Yeah, it's where you can open PDF files. But there should be somewhere. I'm gonna look this up.
Okay.
Red Star change to English. There are actually a handful of YouTube videos of native English speakers looking at Red Star, but they all have like these awful anti-Korean biases when they're doing it. Like,
you're right. Yeah. We're anti-DPRK.
Oh, that network administrator is going to the gulag.
You wish you'd go to the gulag. You know.
So I'm looking at something now that will explain how to.
Especially here in the West, right? Like our prison system is uniquely evil, and you know.
Yeah, what's that country right now where they've got like these Gestapo running through the streets, just like throwing people in the vans and
disappearing them at random.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the United States.
Yeah. Shooting people in the face. You know, they're hiring out their prison. The prisoners are getting hired out to mega corporations for pennies on the dollar.
That's the United States.
Right. Yeah. But and it's that I was talking about this today because the idea that, you know, there's even a comparison between United States and other countries is wrong, because they're a unique evil on this world. They were a colony that turned into the colonizer. Yeah. And they, you know, were successful in one of the greatest, you know, genocides in history. And so it doesn't get talked about in the same way as other genocides because it was successful. But everything that Hitler wanted to do in Europe was based off of what was already done by the United States in the United States.
And that's why when you're a communist, it is so aggravating to hear like liberals, especially American liberals. By the way, liberals are right wing. Yeah, to hear like liberals say, "Oh, what are we? A bunch of Asians now?" Or, "Oh, we're becoming more." Even memes about, you know, the United States becoming like Nazi Germany. Like that's not as bad. That's a lot better. But that Nazi Germany was inspired by the United States.
Right. And, you know, concentration camps were built off of reservation systems, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And the early penal systems that were based off of slave catching here in the United States, right? And so like all of the worst bits that the rest of the world has done, they've all been based off of the United States and its successes in exterminating other large swaths of people. So like the idea that even the idea that people have about like, I'm going to vote for 99% Hitler over 100% Hitler. Well, okay, but like both of your dudes, Hitler dreamed to be like either one of those guys. That's the point, right?
The whole part of the Democrats in the US or the Liberal Party or NDP here in Canada or whatnot is to provide the illusion that we have like democracy and choice. Right.
But I think, that's a part of why we wanted to do this show with, Red Star, right, was to show how, like in the tech world, everything runs fairly similar. And, these things aren't like, they aren't running some, they aren't running sticks and stones over there, right? They're not doing cave paintings. Like, they have the internet, they have access to technologies, and they're using technologies to their fullest extent. They're just doing it beside the United States, and putting up firewalls was actually a good thing that these nations did to protect themselves, not to punish the West, but to protect themselves from the West, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, like everything that they do in the DPRK that Westerners act all weirded out about. They're all like, imagine if the most powerful empire in the world with a military that is like 100 times the size of all the other militaries, and with military bases in like 80 countries on Earth.
Yep.
I mean, and all these countries that Trump has been invading this year, like Venezuela, and like that was a kidnapping.
No, and he's
Maduro and all that. But they don't. You notice how they're not doing that to North Korea,
right? No, they are literally holding that man hostage for oil right now as we're speaking. They took the sovereign president of a sovereign nation and kidnapped him and are holding him hostage for Venezuelan oil as we are recording this, which is an absolutely nutty thing that we just blew by as a collective, right?
Oh yeah, someone who fancies themselves as being a real radical leftist on Mastodon the other day called me a fascist for opposing like regime change in Iran and all that shit. By the way, Iran has like 80 million people.
Yeah. Look,
and like a highly developed economy. And but my theory is other than the fact that, Korea, that like the whole Korean peninsula has great farmland. Yeah. But there's not a whole lot of oil. So that's part of it. Part of the reason why Trump isn't striking the DPRK is because they don't have a lot of oil. And then the second thing is they have nuclear weapons.
Right.
And they also know that if they struck the DPRK, China would also join in to protect them.
Yes. Well, and the whole thing of it is that like nukes as a deterrent have absolutely proved themselves to be successful, and the DPRK's decision to keep themselves isolated from the West has proven to be the correct one. When you look at all of these other countries that try appeasement with the West and how they're getting, randomly kidnapped and invaded and taken over and accused of doing all these things that they accuse the DPRK of as well, but they can't go in and do anything about it because you know, or the DPRK, I said we, but because the DPRK has the ability to hurt them in a way that they're not ready to, like, they don't care about the people. Like, let's get that clear. If it was just about letting them like nuke a certain part of the US, they don't care. They would let that happen. It's the media fallout from all of that that it would be too much for them to navigate, right? And they wouldn't be able to PR spin it in a way that they felt like was worth it at this point.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that they won't at some point, because we also have to remember that like, you know, the US didn't just nuke Japan. The US also nuked itself multiple times. It nuked indigenous communities.
I'm amazed at how well Vietnam was able to recover after, you know, Agent Orange and all that shit.
Right. Well, but because they, you know, did the thing that the DPRK did, and then they did the thing that the Chinese did, right? Was they continued to, you know, build up their productive forces while also, you know, allowing in a certain amount of capital, but keeping a lock on capital, you know, through their government ties, and keeping good enough relations with the United States that the United States didn't come in. The United States thought that they could soft power their way into Vietnam and into China the same way that they soft powered their way into the Soviet Union, right? But what those two nations have proven is that with a solid dictatorship of the proletariat, that you can allow capital to exist within your country and still, you know, have a people's led revolutionary government system that exists. And as those countries become more powerful, and as the West becomes less powerful, we will see them become more communister, right? And all of the things that Western Marxists like to knock them for as being like proto-capital and all this other stuff is going to, you know, slide off and fall by the wayside, because they don't have to worry about the United States as a hegemon anymore. So the next decade of our life is going to be a very, very interesting one, as the last decade has been. But this next decade we're going to see the transition, I believe, fully from a global capital-led world to a global socialist world.
So I am trying to multitask with my brain here. So yeah, I had to grant it root. So this is like when you like put your password in. Yes, I want to change things.
Yeah, I was just kind of letting you, figured you were still trying to do the English thing, right? And so I was just trying to fill air.
No, no problem. No, you're doing the right thing. I'm just gonna see if I open another. Okay. I have to do it this way. There isn't an easy, gooey way to do this. Let me try this. I'm typing in a command that I'm reading here.
Well, and that's why we wanted to do this, was to show people that, you know, that it is possible, and that, you know, this is a thing worth looking into. Obviously, we've done other videos about, you know, different Linux distros. We really wanted to do this again because, you know, I am a huge fan of the DPRK personally. I'm a huge fan of the Kim family personally.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of videos of Western tourists visiting Pyongyang, and you know, them sneaking cameras in. But if they didn't sneak cameras in, I wouldn't get to see it, right? So they took that risk. But yeah, so you get your own. You fly a commercial. You fly commercial to a particular international airport in Eastern China, and then there's one major international airport in Eastern China that has Air Koryo flights departing, I think, on average once per day. and that's how you get there. But there's a particular travel agency that you have to arrange this all through. And they if you don't have a criminal record and there's no reason for them to be concerned about you, I mean, you can go there as a tourist if you go through this particular travel agency,
Right.
And then you get your own personal guided tourism guide, basically. So you get privacy in your hotel room, obviously, and when you're sleeping and all that. But then they have the tour guide follow you wherever you're going when you're not like sleeping in your hotel room and showering and whatnot.
Right. Well, and again, like this is to protect themselves from the West. They've had to take these precautions, because of what happened to them that split their country in half.
Yeah, but also I think it's kind of like if we let some Westerners be tourists and they can see what what the DPRK is really like.
Absolutely. There's this lady I follow on TikTok, and her name's Natalie. I forget what her last name is. She actually went to school in Pyongyang.
Okay.
And so she she just does TikToks where she talks about her experience there, and shows videos from there, talks about how when she moved there, they let her have access to Netflix, they let her have her access to all of her media, to watch and play with however she wished, and that it was very much the things that they did that were invasions of privacy-esque things were to protect their way of life from Western civilization, right? Not because they were afraid of their people getting these Western ideas, but because they were worried about Westerners coming in and starting real trouble amongst their people.
Yeah. So, and it's kind of nice, when you're in a foreign country, to have like your own personal tour guide.
Sure.
And it's always someone who is fluent in English and that's their job. They are a tour guide to English-speaking Westerners. And but yeah, like the Western interpretations of what they do in Pyongyang and the rest of DPRK is just like totally messed up. Like, one common myth is there are barber shops in Pyongyang, and if you go to a barber shop in Pyongyang, there are posters on the wall of a dozen different haircuts that people can order. And so a sensible person whose brain wasn't tainted by propaganda would be like, oh, here's a barber shop. And if you go into a Western barber shop, like in the US or Canada or the UK or wherever, your assumption would be, yeah, here's a selection of haircuts that I can choose from. But their twisted interpretation is, you are only allowed to have one of these 12 haircuts. And if you don't have one of these 12 haircuts, then you get sent to the gulag.
Right. Yeah. It's the but at what cost fallacy, right? Like,
whereas if you went to an American barbershop, you would assume, no, these are the 12 haircuts that you can order at this barbershop.
Well, these are just ideas, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is just like, look, you can pick one of these styles so that I know exactly what you want. If you want something different, walk me through it, but I can't guarantee that I'm going to understand what you're saying if you just want me to freeball it. Like,
this command isn't working to change it into English. That's okay. Oh, wow. There's even a way to tinker with the operating system so that it can access the Western internet. But yeah.
That's fun.
But yeah, it takes a lot of tinkering, though, like reading all the commands that you're supposed to
Yeah, so this would be for those of us out there, the true computer geeks out there.
Yeah.
You know, if you really want to show your love for the DPRK, you know,
Run this as a second operating system, not
yeah,
as your first.
right. And so, but yeah, like it's just I'm glad that we did this one because it gave us a chance to talk about the DPRK, which I always love to do. You know, I also just it getting into their software, getting into their hardware, and actually looking at the similarities to it helps to universalize a lot of these things, right? In ways that, you know, we don't get to see often here in the West.
It'd be cool if there's like maybe some games pre-installed. So you got like a media player, they got a calendar, there's probably your contact search calendar, you got PDF reader, yeah, other applications here. I wonder what this is. That looks interesting. Oh, cool. See, they've got a musical notation application. So if you know music theory,
Right.
you can write out your compositions here. Oh, you can actually, it looks like you can actually compose music in this application.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, you can compose music in there. Let's see. That's why it looks kind of like a harp. Okay. What else we got here? Is there anything else? That's probably a photo viewer over there. But yeah, I don't know if I was talking about this while we had the camera on record, but they have smartphones in the DPRK. Like your average Korean, as in person in the DPRK, has a smartphone now, and they have an online shopping network that's similar to Amazon in the sense that it's general merchandise that you can order to have shipped to your home.
Right.
not you know, delivery drivers having to urinate in bottles or anything like that.
Yeah, because that'd be crazy. Who would do that? Who would be okay with that?
Oh, this is cool. So like, yeah, you can change the, oh, they even have like Arabic fonts too.
Very cool.
Oh, this is neat. And that is probably, okay, that's Chinese. And they've got lots of different fonts and language sets. I don't think this is where you change the language per se. Some fonts are made specifically for certain writing systems.
Sure.
This is, yeah. But yeah, look at, I've got, oh, some of the fonts worth, so the writing system that is native to Korean is called Hangul.
Yep.
So some of these fonts have both Hangul characters and Roman characters. It's kind of cool.
No, very cool.
Yeah.
But yeah,
there is a way to change the default language to English in here, but it takes entering certain commands at the command line. And the ones that I was given on this web page I'm looking at weren't working. So what I would do if I really seriously wanted to use this more was I'd go, well, the most important thing, probably the biggest help is find someone who is fluent in both English and Korean to help you.
There you go.
And then bring them along and ask them to help you read the screen. And there is also probably somewhere that has like the instructions for how to, but yeah, they've got, you can definitely install other applications. You can install other applications once you're on a computer network of some sort. And although my base computer is on the internet, or else this stream thing wouldn't be working, this particular, but yeah, virtual machines are great for so many different things. The only major drawback with virtual machines is you do have to have good hardware specs, because you need to have more, your computer needs to have enough memory and CPU power and all that to be its own computer while it's also being the pet computer.
Right. So like if I were to put this on my computer, say, right, because I have a Mac, so I would run it virtually, right? Because the Mac iOS is pre-installed and you can't get rid of it unless you know how to like jailbreak your whole computer.
Yeah, the way that Apple does it these days, you would literally have to solder the motherboard.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's, they used to call that jailbreaking when I was young, because I had a jailbreak, if that's the right way, if that's the right verbiage.
Yeah, because these
jailbroken original Microsoft Xbox, like the very first Xbox. I had a friend that, you know, got in there, popped the lid, soldered it around, and installed, like, you know, every computer video game humanly possible, all the Xbox games. So I had, like, you know, 300, 400 games on my Xbox.
Oh yeah, they were, that's great. They're modding it.
Yeah.
These days, if you can mod consoles like that, but once you put them on the internet and the gaming network finds it, they will brick your console.
Right.
So if you mod your console to do that stuff, you don't put it on the internet.
Yeah. But luckily, the first Xbox wasn't internet ready yet, so we didn't have that concern, right?
Well, it was, but they weren't as sophisticated about those systems yet.
Oh.
Yeah, the Xbox Live debuted with the first Xbox.
Well, see, there you go.
But yeah, it wasn't the ways that they could use the internet to fuck up people's lives weren't as well developed yet.
Yeah, which, you know, is also a big part of why we do what we do here at StopGenAI.com, right? Because they shouldn't be able to have this level of access into our lives, and they shouldn't be able to, you know, brick your software just because they don't like what you're doing with it, or brick your hardware just because they don't like what you're doing with it. You know, that's, yeah. So
I think when we upload this to PeerTube, and I'll upload it to YouTube, we should include links to other videos that might be informative for people.
Sure.
I've watched some really great documentaries about, there are like at least a few like American white guys who have lived in Pyongyang for like decades now.
Yeah.
There's
Korean War vets.
Yeah, and so I forget, there's this one, obviously they're all like really old guys now.
Right.
But yeah, during the Korean War in the 1950s, this guy was like me in the sense that, you know, he had no family ties anymore, and probably learning about what he was actually doing was really messing him up psychologically when he saw the impact that it had on real Korean people. So and he hated his life in the United States. He had no family left anymore. So he was like, you know what? I'm going to take a big risk. I am going to run up the other side of the border.
Yep.
And he did. And, you know, if it was in the other direction to like the American controlled South side, he would not have been treated as nicely.
No.
Right? Like if he was a Russian or a Soviet on the North side and he did that, he probably would have been tortured in prison, right?
Well, but again, that's the thing that we understand quite well, is that everything that we learn about other cultures is mostly projection, almost always projection, right?
Absolutely.
And so, like, all the ways that and this book right behind me actually talks about it quite a bit, talks about the Korean War, and talks about some of these vets, the situations that you're talking about right now, right? And how the most of the communist nations at that time period were going out of their way to be like kind and nice to the POWs on their end,
Yeah.
Because like, because they believed in the rule of law, that they believed in the art of war and all that stuff. And so like that's what you're supposed to do, right? And then on our side, we were, subjecting them to MK Ultra programs and all kinds of other stuff, and then we would turn around and accuse them of doing that.
So he ran up to the north side somewhere in the early 1950s during the Korean War, which never officially ended. It just kind of whimpered into an armistice, right?
Yes.
And then, of course, in Pyongyang, when they found him and he couldn't speak a word of Korean, they kind of kept him in a room for a few months, but they fed him well. Like, he was surprised, like, even though they're keeping me in a room that I'm not allowed to leave, they give me a nice bed and they're feeding me nice food every day. And they're just trying to figure out whether I'm a threat or not while they keep me in here, but they're feeding me well. And I got a nice bed. And then after a few months, when they eventually kind of came to the conclusion, like, this guy isn't a threat. He's not coming up here to be a spy. He's coming up here to escape. And I think kind of helped too when they found English language interpreters to translate what he was saying. Then it's like, okay, you know what? We're gonna now give you more freedom, so you're not gonna be stuck in this room anymore. And we're gonna provide you with tutors to teach you Korean, and we're gonna let you settle here. And that's what he did. And now he is like completely fluent in Korean, and he still remembers English. I think most of the work that he's done has been teaching people English. And Kim Jong-il, like the previous leader of the King dynasty, was a huge into filmmaking.
Right.
He was a huge fan of film, and he produced and funded a lot of films. So guess what? The English-speaking American guy got to play all the English-speaking American roles in these films.
Awesome.
And he had a lot of fun.
They want another one of those. I'm right here.
He had a lot of fun playing like the big bad American dude.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. If they need another one of him, like, look, I'm right here.
And this documentary took footage of, like, he likes hanging around with his buddies who are all Korean.
Sure.
And they play mahjong and they play cards and whatnot. And at this point, because he's lived there for 70 years, or at this point it was 60 years or whatever, he's completely fluent in Korean.
Sure.
He's talking with them with Korean. They're drinking beer. I've got a smoke detector that I need to address. But yeah, so we are going to also link to videos of Westerners like going to the DPRK, and like this one particular Westerner who's lived there for most of his life now.
Right. So. Yeah, no, I think that's great. And as always, if I can suggest to people to read this book, Atrocity, Fabrications, Consequences by Avery Abrams, there's a chapter in there on the Korean War. And, it gets into a lot about how we are uniquely evil, colonialist colony that turned into the ultimate colonialist, right? And
yeah, because it was the other way around. He wouldn't have eventually been accepted. He would have been, dying behind bars probably.
Right. Or, or any number of things that, that we here in the West think that only happens, elsewhere, but actually is distinctly us, distinctly Western choices and actions. So yeah, no, this has been really fun.